We are going to be at CrimeCon Manchester 2025.
I'm so excited for this.
Partnered by True Crime, the expert-led true crime channel available on your platform of choice.
Just a quick disclaimer, the content presented in this podcast is based on real events and may contain graphic descriptions of violence, crime scenes and other disturbing material. Listener discretion is advised. This episode is sponsored by Think Forensic.
Think Forensic are a one-stop shop for all things forensic science and crime solving. They hold experience days, as well as corporate events, team building events, and general education for primary school right the way up to university level, as well as other events and consultancy. There's also a shop where you can get your hands on all things crime solving, from evidence gathering to packaging and collecting evidence, as well as other forensic science equipment.
For more information or to book on an experience day, please visit the website.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Grave Secrets. We're your hosts. I'm Beth.
I'm Annie, and today we are doing you an Eyes and Ears episode. It has been such a long time since we've done one of these.
It has. So for anyone that hasn't listened to Eyes and Ears episodes before, we called it Your True Crime Eyes and Ears. And basically it's going to be maybe an hour of us talking about either our recommendations for things to listen to, podcast-wise, documentaries to watch, series to watch, and just generally what we've actually been up to outside of all of the cases that we've been
I really like these
revising.
episodes because I feel like you get a bit more of an insight into us because we don't have to be quite as serious.
No.
So normally for the case studies, we're obviously not here laughing and joking and whatever, but in these ones it's a bit more lighthearted and find out a little bit more about us. And we're actually wearing very similar today. So it's usually me that comes in the tracksuit, and if you're watching on YouTube, Beth has got her tracksuit on today.
Here I am.
And I was going to put my full red tracksuit on, and I thought, oh no, that's going to be too much. And then you've come all in your
Here I
green
am,
one.
I've got my midriff out.
And I thought we would have been matching.
Yeah.
Had a little matching outfits. But before we start any of our recommendations, we have an announcement for you.
Ta-da!
We've been actually really excited to tell you about this, and it's not our main announcement, is it, really? Because we have got an even bigger announcement than this, but that is not going to come for quite a while.
Yeah, the bigger one is one of those where, like we always do, we're like, exciting things are coming, but we can't talk about them yet. They are, I swear.
We promise they are coming. We're not just telling you this.
There's a couple of things, hopefully, that are in the pipeline that should be coming off.
But one is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And it's not even going to feel
not to play it cool or anything.
It's not even going to feel like we've done it when it gets to being able to tell you, because we did this a couple of months ago, didn't we now?
Yeah.
Was it a couple of months ago maybe? Which is why we had a little bit of extra time off before coming back for season 2. So by the time we can tell you, it's going to feel like it was like a year ago or something, isn't it?
It's going to be strange.
Yeah. But we have some more exciting news, and this one,
super exciting. So we are going to be at CrimeCon Manchester 2025.
I'm so excited for this.
Partnered by True Crime, the expert-led true crime channel available on your platform of choice. But yeah, it's so exciting. Obviously, if you've been with us from the start, you will have heard about us attending CrimeCon Glasgow last year. That was with our wonderful company Think Forensic, and we had such an amazing time. It was incredible. Obviously, we were rushed off our feet because we were working the event. This will be a little different because it's the smaller scale event in terms of London. There's like different immersive experiences you can kind of do at the London event, whereas we're all on the same event program effectively at Manchester. But as we are going as content creators for this one, we're just going to have more opportunity to actually get a chance to speak to people and catch up.
Yeah.
We had amazing conversations with a lot of people in Glasgow.
We did, but we were sort of doing two things at once because we were there with Think Forensic, so we were part of the immersive experience. And then we were sort of catching up with people on our lunch times or on our breaks, but then we were also there as content creators, but we didn't actually get to sit down at our table or anything because we were too busy doing things with Think Forensics. It'll be nice this time, I think, to do it a little bit more relaxed and be content creators, just content creators.
Yeah, so crazy. So we're very thankful to CrimeCon for having us back. I'm just really excited because, again, we managed to sneak in and listen from the back of the lecture theatre to some of the speakers in Glasgow, but we couldn't sit and listen to the whole talks. So it'll be nice to have the opportunity to actually sit and listen to people for a full talk.
I wonder if they're going to make us introduce anyone this time.
Oh, yeah.
Because they got us up on stage last time and we had to introduce one of the speakers, didn't we?
Yeah, so it was actually like a what do you call it now? A panel, an open panel. So they'd got an author of a newly released novel.
And just me and you on stage.
Yeah.
With our little cue cards like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this.
All very strange. But yeah, so it's going to be really exciting. So that's not till September, but that's going to come around pretty quickly, I reckon.
It is. And if you are wanting to come to CrimeCon Manchester, I bet these tickets will sell out so quick because the London event is absolutely huge. But obviously it's quite far to travel if you are from up north. So Manchester's a really local one for us.
Yeah.
So if you do want to come and meet us, or if you want to get some tickets, we have actually got a discount code. So it is GRAVE, and you can get 10% off your tickets with our discount code.
Yeah.
We will put that on our Insta as well.
We should probably give them the date. So it's on the 27th of September this year. And yeah, it'd be absolutely amazing to see a few of you there. They keep announcing, like, they release bit by bit, don't
they do, yeah.
Kind of the different speakers and content creators and stuff.
So if you follow them on Instagram, I think that's probably the best place to get the up-to-date speakers, because they release them on there and then they go onto their website as well. So then you can see who's going to be there at the Manchester one.
Yeah.
So yeah, really exciting.
Very
content creators
exciting.
On tour.
We've now just got to get some merch and things.
I know, we need to decide what we're going to do.
What else are we going to do?
I mean, we need more than stickers. We can't just put the stickers on. Like, what are we gonna?
Here, have a sticker.
If anyone's got any ideas, of what we can put on our little, what's it called?
Stand.
On our little stand, then let us know what you want to see from us. And if you do see us at CrimeCon, please come over and say hello to us.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself.
So, where to start? I think probably the best one to start with is the one series that everyone's talking about at the minute.
This is everywhere.
I'm going to say it's been really, whoever's on their PR/marketing is straight on it. So, Adolescence. When this comes out, it'll be a few weeks after the release.
Yeah.
But I think people, from what I've seen so far, it's going to continue to be talked about and popular.
It is. It was the number one watched show on Netflix at the moment, and it is 4 episodes, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be longer, so I watched 3 in one go, and then I thought, oh, there'll probably be 6, so I'll watch the other 3 together.
Yeah.
And I came to sit down, and I was like, oh, I'm on the last
just
one.
The one.
Yeah, just the one left. So I think it was quite short.
I did the same, though. I watched 3 in one stint, and then watched the last one separately.
Yeah.
It has now infiltrated kind of every corner of social media. People are posting kind of clips of interviews with Stephen Graham. There are quotes and info about the young actor in it. But it's also massive on LinkedIn at the minute.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, with a lot of people talking about some of the issues that are obviously raised in the series. Yeah. So we don't want to obviously ruin it for anyone that might not have watched it or it's on their to watch list. But ultimately, it covers the case of a young 13-year-old boy who is accused of murder and follows the events that unfold effectively.
It does, and it's not just the young boy that it focuses on, the suspect is called Jamie. It's his family as well, and how they deal with it, and it's all very sort of true. I thought it was very realistic.
Yes.
But then the actors and actresses in it are actually outstanding. So there's a few that are in there, like there's Ashley Walters, there's Stephen Graham, who are really good actors. And his mom, Jamie's mom, what was she? Do you remember her name?
You know what I'm like with names.
She's a really famous actress as well. So I think all of those together was just really good.
Yeah, massively. What's really interesting and significant about it as well is that they chose to film it and shoot it all in one take. So it's really interesting the way that the camera moves through from scene to scene.
A little fun fact about this. So I was actually asked to be an extra in Adolescence.
Really?
But we get them sometimes under like a code name.
Yeah.
So when they come through, we don't always know what we're going to be in. So if something comes in like for Bridgerton, they don't say Bridgerton because they'll get inundated with people. Anyway, Adolescence kept coming through for me. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. And on the days, we were always working. So I was like, I can't do it. So when this came out, I was like, oh my God, I was going to be an extra in this. So I did look into it, and as well as it being done in one take, is what they did is in the school scene, there was about 250 extras, and they all had to be perfectly choreographed. So the extras were all choreographed. So who's walking what way, no one's bumping into each other. Yeah. But then also, not only the extras and the actors were choreographed, the camera crew as well. Yeah. And I've actually been an extra in something before where the camera crew is also choreographed. And it's like, as the actors are in a certain certain set, if they walk towards the camera, obviously the cameraman then needs to step back. So the extras have then had to be moved. Yes. And it is like a routine. Yeah. It is absolutely crazy. So much actually went into this. Yeah. And just to do it in one take, because at first I was like, why is there no cuts in this? And then I saw it and I thought, oh my God,
that's incredible.
That is really good.
I think for me, the time, obviously the acting, as we've mentioned, is really good throughout, is excellent throughout. But the one episode where I thought about just how labour intensive it is, Stephen Graham has referenced the fact that he really likes these one take kind of series because to him it's a bridge between TV and film and theatre. Yeah. Because obviously theatre performance is one take. So he quite likes it being shot that way. And the one point in which I realised how labour intensive it was for these actors was the third episode. Again, we'll not give too much away, but effectively it's a child psychologist sat in interview with the suspect, Jamie. And it's quite casual. It's not an interview as such. They're having a conversation, but it's an incredibly intense hour. And that was all just them there in that room.
So that was my favourite episode. And I did actually see after that this was Jamie's, I'm calling him Jamie, it's obviously not called Jamie in real life. This was his first major role. And have you seen on Instagram at the moment, his audition tapes just come out?
Yeah, I've seen it come up,
like watching back.
Right, yeah.
And you can just see why he got the role, because in his audition tape, it is exactly how he was on screen. And the child psychologist, I just watched a program with her in, and it was called 1,000 Blows on Netflix. Right. And it's set in like, I don't know, it's set back. Way back when. I don't know when. And she's a like notorious pickpocketer. Oh. And Stephen Graham is also in that as well. So I've just seen them act together in that. Yes. And then to see her as a child psychologist when she's just played like a pickpocketer. Yeah. Obviously I know the actresses, that's what they do. But it was just really weird to see like the switching roles, and I think she was brilliant as well.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, I think it was really well done and very cleverly done. And ultimately the things or the themes that it does bring up are misogyny. Yep. It talks about incels and this infiltration of really harmful mindsets that are unfortunately now being filtered into social media and children's psyche very, very early on. Yeah. Which, if anything is slightly unstable in a child's environment, and obviously for most kids there's something that is unstable, whether or not it be horrific trauma or whether it not be just a normal part of growing up, something like these harmful themes and harmful beliefs that are being indoctrinated really to kids can completely shift their thought processes, their behaviours, and go on to create really harmful situations, which is what this series demonstrates. I think it demonstrates how easily
definitely
it can happen.
And from the parents' point of view as well in this, they were sort of looking at, you know, where did we go wrong? What did we do that was wrong? What could we have done better? Could we have prevented something from happening? And it just showed that, because Stephen Graham plays the father of Jamie, and he said, like, he thought that he was safe in his room. He's not going out, he's not causing trouble. He was just sat on his room in his computer. You know, he wanted a new computer, we got him it. And it was there that this then began and that this started.
So it is really powerful. It is difficult to watch, I would say. There are certain elements of it that do realistically portray maybe the police in a negative light to a certain extent, like kids these days and schools. However, that is the reality for some people. That is some people's reality. And you can't deal with everything perfectly. But what worries me about it is, as much as like I'm trying to get my words right, as much as the series has been created to raise awareness of things that are absolutely important to talk about, and to make sure that it was true to life, to give an accurate kind of representation. Obviously it's a drama, so it's going to be dramatic. But I think what I struggle with is that there are a lot of people that will watch it and just judge. Do you know what I mean? There are a lot of people out there that are quick to judge, so they'll just say like, oh yeah, the police are horrific, raiding people's houses, they didn't deserve that. Oh, the police should have dealt with it in X, Y and Z way. That school, you know, behaviour of kids these days is horrific, it's all down to the parents, teachers aren't teaching. I just think unfortunately there will be a lot of judgment off the back of it.
Not just that though, I have noticed especially with social media, the amount of people sort of agreeing. And you look and you just think, well, this is the whole point, because you're agreeing with this on social media, and obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinions. But then you've also got people who are such a strong presence online, like Andrew Tate. And how many times do I see him on my feed and I don't follow any of his stuff, I don't interact with it, I don't like it, I don't search for anything to do with it.
It's not like you'd be liking the kind of content that would bring him up in the algorithm, and yet he's still coming.
And yet he still comes up on my algorithm all the time. And I think, wow, if you've got someone who is a teenage boy, like in this case, and they even just search something on Instagram, and then your For You page then comes up, and then by the time you've watched a few of Andrew Tate's videos, you think, oh God, look at this guy, like he's rich, he's this, he's that, he's saying this about women, he must be right. And then you start thinking that way yourself, don't you? And you're easily influenced as a young child.
And I think what was really important about the series is that it does show the nuance of these situations. There is nuance between people that are quick to temper. And that is just a personality trait of them. And then the difference in when it then becomes dangerous or abusive. There is the nuance between the use of social media to a healthy degree and how quickly it can flip. Also attitudes towards women. There are some comments that are made about, you know, is mum being good at cooking a Sunday dinner? And I think comments in themselves to that degree are fine. You know, your mum's good at cooking. That's not a bad thing. But if that then becomes my mum or females are only good for cooking and cleaning, and then it becomes this idea of subservience, then that's when it's a problem. So it did deal with the nuance quite well, I think.
Yeah, I did. And I was just on my phone, then I weren't being rude or not listening to you, checking my messages. I just screenshotted something, and it was what I saw on Instagram this morning, and it says schools to educate boys on combating misogyny and toxic masculinity after Netflix hit series Adolescence. So they're wanting to introduce anti-misogyny lessons.
Yeah.
As part of new relationships, health and sex education before the end of this academic year. So it must be quite prevalent in schools. And I know before I've actually seen letters being sent home from schools to people's parents saying your son has been watching like sort of Andrew Tate people and coming into school and quoting it and telling other people about it, and you need to keep your kids away from it sort of thing. So this has not just happened because of adolescence. I think there was obviously a problem, a major problem before, which has just been highlighted by this.
Absolutely.
And it's been brought a lot more to the media attention now, which is then easier to do something about it, isn't it?
Interestingly, because again, when I've spoken to people that have watched it, I've spoken to maybe 5 or 6 different people, and everyone's favourite episode was different.
What was yours?
So I think, I don't know really.
Mine's the one with the psychologist and Jamie in the room. I think it was episode 3.
Yeah. My favourite part was actually in episode 2, but I wouldn't say overall it was my favourite. I don't think I can break it down. But my most favourite part of the series was in episode 2 when they're at the school and they're basically asking for more information from the kids and getting a better picture of motive at that stage, aren't they, really? Yeah. But one of the officers turns to the other and she just says, do you know what really angers me? The fact that this whole narrative, everything we're talking about, is to do with the offender and the offender's circle of friends and the circumstances around why the offender's done it. She said, we need to remember the victim. Yeah. It's a young girl that's lost her life. Yeah. And I thought that's what I resonated with. Because I was like, that's what we try and do. Yeah. But inevitably an investigation has to centre, unfortunately, around the offender as much as the victim, because that's what gives you the picture of what's happened. That's what helps you convict them. But yeah, it did, I think, kind of reiterate the importance of it. Yeah. And the fact that officers and investigators do care, but they have a job to do, and it's difficult to be able to navigate that.
There wasn't actually that much in the entire series about the victim, and I found that what was in there about the victim was negative. Yeah. So we're not going to spoil anything for you if you've not watched it, but if you have watched it, you'll know what we're know what we're talking about. And I think because it was sort of the victim was described by Jamie, who was the suspect, a lot of the ways were, it was a negative narrative, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, But I think it was necessary for the way that they told the story. Yeah. I did find it interesting, again, because obviously whenever we now watch things like this, it links back in our minds to cases we've covered and things like that. It made me think of Brianna Jai's mum and how brave she was after the convictions of the offenders that had killed Brianna, her daughter. Esther, the mum, actually went and met one of the offenders' family, and was incredibly brave and actively said, I do not blame the parents. Yeah. They're as a victim as much as I am.
We've both lost a child.
And I think she really understood just from her core that these situations unfortunately do happen. Yeah. So it made me think of that. Yeah. It also made me think of other families that have lost children or have struggled with a child that you really don't have any control over to a certain extent,
Yeah.
So it was, I thought it was good. It definitely made you think. It definitely brought up a lot of important themes that should be talked about and should be discussed. But it is quite a difficult watch, but really well done.
It is. And I think everyone will probably agree with me on being quite shocked about the ending.
Yes.
And not shocked as in because there was a massive twist or, something drastic happened.
Yeah.
I was just shocked how it just ended.
Yeah, it did just leave it all
and it just
open.
left it open for you to sort of interpret whatever you think.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I thought, I'd love to have known more.
See, I was told that I was going to absolutely sob at the last episode and I didn't. And then I felt like a heartless bitch.
I didn't cry at any of it.
No.
But do you think it's because we deal with this sort of stuff all the time?
Yeah, and I also think that I had so many emotions, really. Like I was frustrated. I felt like, do you know what I mean? Like I had a lot of emotions bubbling anyway. So I think that probably just...
I think you would probably be emotional if you were a parent because you'd put yourself in the situation. You'd put yourself in the shoes of Jamie's parents and having your child in that situation and not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
But because we don't have children,
no,
I don't think it was as emotional for us.
No, and I think it depends what mood you're in as well.
It does.
I waited until I was all right.
If it's like just before I'm due on my period, I'll cry at anything. Like I will literally cry if someone says anything.
Well, me and Ree, so Ree's been watching things. So she's just watched Toxic Town.
I've just watched that. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, can you please let me know how much I'm going to cry, at what point, should I watch it now, should I not? And she was like, it's safe.
Yeah. So, no, I didn't cry at Toxic Town
well, that's
either.
Good, then.
I did really like that one though.
I think I get this real what's the word? Advocacy, like standing up for what's wrong and when I watch things, so I get quite
like invested in it.
Yeah. And so if there's ever someone that's like fighting against the big guys or something like that, which is
have you seen Toxic Town?
No, not yet.
Right, okay.
But that's why I haven't watched it yet, because I thought the minute that I see someone like standing up for what's right or what they believe in, I'm gonna get all in a tears. So we'll see.
It is good though, Toxic Town.
Okay.
What is that on?
That's on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
It just came up on my suggested and I didn't have anything to watch, and then I put that on and I watched it all the way through. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Yeah. So that's another one. It doesn't really relate to any true crime, but it is a good one to watch.
It should be a bloody crime.
Yes, it should be. It definitely should be.
So another thing to watch, and then I'll give you a couple of things to...
Right, so the one that I've been watching this week is Forensics Murder Scene. This is a documentary based in Yorkshire, and it is following West Yorkshire Police, scenes of crime and police officers on their crime scenes. This is on Channel 5, and it is new to Channel 5, but... when I watched the first episode, I had seen it before.
You always do
but
this.
I'm
sure I recognise this.
Before I moved house, we had like all the crime channels.
Yeah.
We had like Virgin, whatever it is. Yeah. I had like Now TV, Apple TV, didn't I? Do you remember when I just could watch anything? So I've watched a lot of crime documentaries, and I think it came out on one of those before.
Yes.
And now it's being released onto Channel 5. So there's 4 episodes so far. And again, if you've not watched it, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of the sort of forensics that went on that I thought was actually really clever. So episode 1 is a female victim has been stabbed. She gets treated at the scene, but she later dies in hospital. Then it turns to a murder investigation.
Okay.
And the suspect is her now husband, but her husband used to be married to her sister who died.
Oh.
So these are a Sikh family.
So then do they start a cold, well, not a cold case, but
no,
do
because
they open an investigation on the
No, because the sister died of something medical. Like, I think it might have been cancer or something.
Okay.
So he was nothing to do with that.
The first.
Yeah, but then in this one, they have to try and work out if it was an argument that had just got out of hand and it was in the heat of the moment, or if it was premeditated.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about this this documentary, it is very graphic.
Is this the whole series?
Yeah, so that's the overview of episode 1, and I've only watched episode 1 and 2. So there's 4 episodes out at the moment, and as soon as it started on episode 1, it starts off with a reconstruction like at the beginning, and you can tell that's like fake reconstruction. But then the first episode was the CSI stood outside and saying, right, we're going to walk you through the crime scene.
Yeah.
They open the door and the blood is mostly blurred out,
right?
But you can tell a lot,
like you can distinguish what's
so this one is
on.
the most graphic one that I have ever watched.
Okay.
And because you know it's real as well, it's like, oh, and they're talking about blood pattern analysis, they're getting people in to look. In the first one, because it was in someone's home, there was quite a lot of blood at the scene and they are sort of working that out. But the second episode for me was the most interesting. And because this is all in West Yorkshire, it's all places that you know.
Yeah.
So this one, episode 2, is Huddersfield, and it was an attempted murder of a shopkeeper. Someone came in with a shotgun and shot the shopkeeper. And the forensics that were used in this were absolutely crazy. So there was a crime scene surveyor.
Right.
That came in, and he had his little crime scene van, and his actual job title was crime scene surveyor, which I had not really heard much about.
Yeah.
And he bought his little tripod in.
Yeah.
And he put his tripod where the suspect was stood from the CCTV.
Yeah.
So where he thought it was. It then did a 3D laser scan.
Yeah.
So you could then walk through the crime scene like you can when, you know, you're buying a house. Or something like that. And then I knew that they did that for the crime scene, but I thought that was just like more of a reconstruction.
Yes.
But he then took the CCTV, overlaid it over the top of the 3D imaging to get a height of the suspect.
Gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, how did this even get from just doing a scan?
It's funny, like the amount of different ways that things like this can be identified, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that made me think back to in the murder of James Bulger.
The wall.
The height.
Yes.
Yeah, and the first time that they got a gauge of their 2 suspects in terms of height and age was by looking at a wall on CCTV, then going and measuring the wall and then working out roughly how much taller they were. So there's like elements like that. Obviously, if you've got footwear marks, if you've got multiple footwear marks at a scene, you can maybe measure the distance between and get a rough idea of someone's height or gait. But this was real comprehensive,
very accurate. And in this situation, the shopkeeper did survive. But then they had a suspect and they were then looking for, obviously, for evidence. So they traced the CCTV back, how he turned up at the shop, where he was before he went to the shop, and sort of worked it all backwards.
Yeah.
And they found a vehicle that he'd been linked to.
Right.
In this vehicle, they had found a pair of black gloves folded up.
Okay.
On the CCTV in the shop, someone was wearing black gloves when they shot the shopkeeper.
Yeah.
So they said, because the gloves have been folded up in the car, we'll take them for gunshot residue analysis. So they took them into the lab, and it showed you the scientist in the lab. She talked you through the step-by-step process of them like doing the little swabbing for the gunshot residue, how they do it. Then they put it in this... they put it in the machine, and it sort of peaks for every element that comes up. So then they could look and see if there was anything there. Unfortunately, in this case, there wasn't any gunshot residue. So there wasn't actually that much evidence to link the suspect to the crime scene in this case, which is crazy because you've got CCTV.
Yeah.
You've got the shopkeeper who has survived and given a description.
Yeah.
There was so many factors that came into it, like because it was a shotgun, they found out that the suspect had actually been to a shooting range and was a member of a shotgun club.
Wow.
So then they had to go to the shotgun club, because then if they did get gunshot residue off the clothes, they needed to know if it was
just from a shooting range or whether it was from committing the offence.
And then how would they tell if it was?
Yeah.
Then they also had digital forensics quite heavily involved, looking at phones that they'd found that were intentionally damaged.
Right.
And with the suspect in this case, their phone had gone offline like 10 minutes before the murder. 20 minutes after the murder, the whole phone had been disconnected.
Right.
And then another number then pops up straight away. So as if he's took the SIM card out of a phone, put a new one in it. He made a couple of calls off that one. Then he drops that SIM card as well.
Wow.
So he had covered quite a few tracks.
Yeah, but then that becomes more obvious, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes it's that gives you away.
That's what they said. Like, if you've not used your phone in that period of time, that is also just as good as using your phone in that period of time, because if you're texting every single day or you're calling people throughout the day, and then like if someone looked at our phone records now, we'd be messaging each other in the morning, we'd probably messaging each other in the evening. I messaging you last night when I was in bed. Yeah. And then for 4 hours today, we sort of go dead, don't we? And there's nothing at all. So they would actually know, if digital forensics looked at our records, they'd know that we were both together, because we'd be pinging the nearest cell phone tower and we'd both be radio silence for like 4 hours. So it was really interesting to look into, you know, like the scientists and how they actually do stuff. And I'll let you watch that episode because it was a really good one. But when I tell you at the end, I gasped.
Oh God, yeah, I might watch that
I was
later.
like, wow.
I've got to do some artwork for the pod this afternoon.
I had it on in the background,
and
you know, you're thinking, oh yeah, they've got this evidence, they've got that evidence, they've got whatever. And then I was just doing I think I was just taking notes. And then when the ending came on, I thought, wow, this is a good one. And you sort of forget sometimes that it's real.
Yeah.
You know, when you're watching it and I know. You're watching all these people do the jobs and whatever, even though we do we do work in forensics, it felt like it was a little bit dramatized as well. Yeah. Which is surprising from West Yorkshire Police. I was very surprised by that. Yeah.
Because they're under quite strict kind of instruction as to what they can and can't say or talk about,
and not glamorizing stuff and things like that. So yeah, I did think it was quite dramatic, but that is definitely worth a watch. So I've got 2 more episodes to watch and on that.
Remind us what that one's called again.
So that one is Forensics Murder Scene.
Nice. On Channel 5.
Channel 5, yeah.
Cool. Right.
So catch up on that one, and then I'll talk to you about that episode.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it is difficult, isn't it, sometimes, because, I mean, so Think Forensic is the company that we work for, and there are so many different specialists that are in different disciplines on the team that even though we have an awareness, you can never, ever physically have know everything about all of the different elements because they are so specialised. So when you talk to the team, sometimes they're referencing something and I've just got no idea what they're talking about. It's incredible. Yeah. Like, I love it.
Because it's a totally different department, isn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, it's lovely because obviously they think I'll understand, but like Mark at work, his career has been incredible, but he will sometimes either throw in acronyms or reference something. And if I can get the general gist, I'll stick with him. But sometimes he'll be talking about something and I'll be like, Mark, I'm going to have to stop you there.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea what you are saying.
I think even though we work in forensics, even from watching these documentaries and listening to people who actually work like within different areas, you learn so much from it.
Yeah, that's what I love most. Like, obviously I'm a bit of a cheat because I now go into schools and colleges and kind of teach techniques, but I'm not in the role to the same extent, so it is amazing just to hear about all
like firsthand. And even when we work with people who are maybe like ex-CSIs or ex-police officers, and listening to their stories at work is like listening to a documentary, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking of which, it was you that mentioned it to me, but I'd already seen it come up. If you've been with us since the early days, we covered and discussing the evidence episode on forensic botany. Yeah, I think it's like episode 6, 8, something. It's around that. It's in the
probably
first 10,
maybe earlier. Yeah, it was one of our very early episodes. Yeah,
and we referenced the wonderful Professor Patricia Wiltshire, who has just started blowing up on social media.
I know, and she's in turn making us blow up.
Yeah, thank you, because she's just done an interview on Lad Bible. They've got really they've really changed over the course of their
creation. But I am really liking these interviews that they're doing, because there's so many different people, and even if they're not in our like forensic line of work, it's still so fascinating. Yeah.
But they've just done an interview with Professor Patricia Wiltshire, and she is just incredible. So even though we kind of know quite a lot about her, I've still watched.
When I watched the Lad Bible, you forget how posh she is as well.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, she is super, super posh.
Super posh, well-spoken. She's a bit like, if you imagine Mary Berry then going to horrific murder scenes.
Yes,
and processing, forensic evidence.
Just working out who the murderer is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's definitely worth a watch as well, isn't it?
So check that out as well. And then I would say we've mentioned like ballistics and obviously gunshot and residue and things like that in the episode that you've just talked about. But I tend to watch, now I think this is going to show my weirdness again. I never watch anything on like actual platforms. Well, I obviously do, but not to the same extent. I go down a Facebook reel rabbit hole.
Okay.
So the majority of things that I watch
I'm already laughing.
Are on a Facebook reel rabbit hole. So I started, obviously once you've watched one, then they're all coming up. So I started watching them, and I didn't actually know who the creator was, because they're all like effectively stolen from the original creator and just on these Facebook profiles that are, just regurgitating stuff. So it took me ages to actually work out who this content was created by. However, I've discovered, so they're called, because this is what threw me off, in some of them it references, hello there, Ewu crew. Ewu.
Okay.
Turns out that the actual, if you want to check them out on YouTube, it's Explore With Us.
Ah, okay.
So it's Explore With Us, but they've got this weird little emblem of like a werewolf, and then they call it the Ewu crew. The voice is, I don't know whether it's AI or whether it's just a man with quite a monotone voice or what. It's quite weird.
I'm going to have to start watching these, but I don't want to be down a rabbit hole on Facebook Reels.
But no, you can just watch them on YouTube. Okay. The proper way to take in this person's content that they've obviously curated themselves. But the reason that I find it so interesting is because obviously everything's different in America, and they are all body cam footage, interviews and first on scene footage.
Ah, that's quite good.
From cases.
And these are American?
Okay. You've then got this kind of narrator over the top in the background who there's like a disclaimer at the beginning, and they've said that the footage has been watched with like a forensic psychologist, a detective with over how many years experience and whatever. So they do just stay factual, which I find very important. And it just outlines events as they unfold, but sometimes it'll show you the nuance. So sometimes the narrator will say, you may well have noticed that the officer just introduced himself as such and such rather than Detective Sergeant. This is to help build rapport. So it does kind of give you a bit of context,
so a little bit
as
of background.
to why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just behaviour. It's just interesting to see behaviour, because you obviously see the first time that the police are interacting with quite often the offender, and how these people are responding. I've watched some absolutely crazy ones, but what I would say is that if guns weren't legal, there'd be, the majority of the ones that I've seen have been gun related.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy.
I will have to watch a few of those.
I will send you. Yeah, I'll send you one,
and then I can sort of get the gist of it.
And then other ones are like interviews with offenders, and it shows you like the point in which you can see them realise that they've been caught out.
Yeah.
In one I watched recently, he was South African, so he'd got quite a strong accent. He'd been working at a hotel somewhere in America, and it was a woman who had actually stolen his GoPro from his hotel room to then sell on, but saw footage of him assaulting and then murdering a woman on this GoPro.
Gosh.
She then handed it into the police.
Wow.
And he was then caught for the offences. But it's all these interviews with him where he's saying, oh, I don't know who she is, I've had nothing to do with it. And then they're like, but is this not your GoPro? And he's like, well, yeah, that's my GoPro. And they're like, well, what kind of things are we going to find on there? And he's like, oh, well, probably some pictures of my van and probably some pictures of this. And then they play him a clip of his audio while he's strangling one of his victims, because it turns out there's more than one. And he's like, oh, yeah, that might have been me, but we were just having sex. Like, it's crazy. So, yeah.
I'm definitely going to be down a rabbit hole with this.
Yeah.
You know what? I can't wait to come back either. Did you ever watch the World's Toughest Prisons with Raphael Rowe?
Yes.
And everyone has been saying, because I follow him on Instagram,
right?
And everyone's been commenting saying like, yeah, to come back for another season or whatever.
Didn't he do 50 million seasons? I swear there's like...
yeah, I've watched every one of them.
Yeah.
Every single one that he goes to is basically the same.
Yeah.
But he has been in some really rough ones.
Yeah.
But I do really like his whole...
approach.
Yeah, his whole approach in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, I flicked past a post the other day and I thought, oh, is there going to be another one of those? I really like that one. Yeah, off subject, World's Toughest Prisons.
Yeah,
but,
nice. Yeah. Well, there you go.
We're done.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've not had time to watch anything else or listen to anything else.
We haven't. We've been so busy. I mean, you've been rushed off your feet with work.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm not really there now.
Yeah, no, thanks for that.
I've not been coming in. But no, I've been moving house. So I have had a very, very hectic few weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting
and
for
you've been jet setting as well.
I have been to Paris, yeah. It all came at the wrong time because I moved house and then the week after I had already got Paris booked. So I'd booked Paris back in January. So then I went there for a few days and then came back and I'm still living out of boxes. And IKEA was meant to deliver my wardrobes on Monday and they decided not to turn up. So now they're coming on Saturday. But I was hoping by Saturday to have everything organised.
Yeah, all ready.
Yeah, in my head I was thinking I'll unpack one box a day from now until Saturday. And I mean, that would only be like 4 boxes. And I have got 36 boxes of clothes.
Well,
you know, the big plastic boxes.
Yeah.
God. And I said, don't ever let me say to you that I've got nothing to wear.
Yeah.
And I always look and I think every single week, what am I going to wear for the podcast?
This is what
I've got
like
nothing to wear for the podcast. And then I look at these clothes and think,
I know.
I just don't want to wear any of those.
I'm going through a phase of hating my wardrobe.
Yeah.
At the minute,
mine's going on Vinted. Like everything that I'm seeing at the moment is straight on Vinted. So yeah, I'm going to be more minimalist eventually. But yeah, we've had a hectic few weeks, haven't we, really?
Yeah.
Well, I've had a hectic few
I'm going to say, I feel like we've said that though since we started since we started the podcast. So I think our lives are just hectic.
Do you think this is just our life now?
I think we just need to
accept
that
it.
Sometimes are more hectic than others, but in general, we do have quite hectic lives.
I just want to rest.
That's the roundup for today.
And we'll end on that note. So make sure you're following us on social media. If there's anything you want us to cover, any case studies, any evidence that you want us to look into, please let us know because we do check our DMs and we do check our comments on Instagram,
it's the only DMs I'm getting.
TikTok. Yeah, someone slide into Beth's
Give me
DMs
something.
I'm fed up hearing about it. Someone slide into her DMs, for God's sake. So I think that's it for this week. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. So get tickets to CrimeCon with our discount if you can. Let us know if there's anything. And other than that, we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.